If this topic is triggering for you, please feel free to skip to the next episode.
Hi everyone, my name's Molly. I'm a community organiser and I have the privilege of working with the Coventry Youth Activists.
My name's Amanda. I am part of Coventry Youth Active.
Hello, I'm Joey and I'm part of the Coventry Youth Activists. So the Coventry Youth Activists often call each other CF for short because it's a very long thing to keep saying. We are a group of young people from Coventry who have disabilities and additional needs. We are a very diverse group and we work to create different campaigns to improve the lives of people with disabilities, to educate the public and to fight for the rights of people with disabilities.
So on today's podcast, we're going to be talking about the assumptions and stereotypes that are made about young disabled people. We're going to hear from Amanda and Joey some of their stories of times people have made assumptions about them and the effects it's had on them. We're then going to talk about Coventry Youth Activists and their work and how their campaigns challenge the stereotypes we often hear about young disabled people. We're going to hear from Amanda and Joey about their Facebook Has No Standards campaign, what they're doing to challenge disability hate online, and how you can get involved too. Okay, so to get us started, we're going to hear some stories of times Amanda and Joey have had assumptions made about them. We know this can be quite hard sometimes and quite difficult to listen to, but throughout our podcast, as See Always do, we want to bring joy and light. So please feel free to laugh with us when we laugh.
My mum had a spa day for my 18th birthday. We had a spa day, and I went into a sauna, and one of the staff members who worked there, they said she's not allowed in here.
Your mum wouldn't have let that happen, would she? No way, and nor would you.
My mum said, yeah, she is allowed because she's 18.
How does it make you feel, Amanda, when they do that to you?
A bit emotional because I want to speak out and do my own adult stuff.
Yeah, so the next story, Amanda, was about what sometimes happens when you're in a pub and they come over to take your order.
Me and my family go to the pub, and when it's time to order food, the lady asks my mum, say, what does she want? But they can't ask me.
You weren't impressed with that bit, were you?
When me and my mum goes to the shop, when we're coming up to a till, and then some ladies say she's supposed to be at school, but they didn't know that I was an adult.
So when we were thinking about the topic of stereotypes and assumptions that people make about people with disabilities, it was quite hard actually to think of specific times because there are so many, and it becomes a bit normalized, which is absolutely shouldn't be happening. Because it happens so often, it actually took some time to think and pinpoint specific occasions, and some can be a lot more distressing than others. I think, we have to try and look at it with humour sometimes, which I did in the end with my first situation that I was going to talk about. I remember one time during the summer, and I was in the gym, and I wanted to get past this group of men, and I don't really talk to people because I my autism and my anxiety, so I don't really talk to people I don't know because it's too difficult. They were all crowded around the window and laughing, and I wondered what they were doing, and they were looking they were looking at women in a car park. They were shouting to each other, I bet you couldn't afford to take that out, as they were pointing towards the different women, which I found very shocking. I was not happy. I was already a bit frustrated, and so I tried to ignore it because I really don't like things like that. Until when I came past one of the men, as I came past, I happened to be in my wheelchair, and he turned to his friend and said, "I'm sure he would be able to afford to take that out. Golden wheels over there," which at the time he must have loads of money. I was quite frustrated because straight away I realized they must have been assuming that because I had a disability that I had lots of money because of, I don't know, benefits or something. I couldn't believe that they were shouting this, as I went past, and then I've had to laugh about that since. I actually said something which was very out of character. I said, well, firstly, not on an NHS worker's budget, because I work for the NHS, and I'm get very frustrated at the fact that people are always assuming that because somebody has autism or is in a wheelchair that they don't work. So I turned and I said to them, not on an NHS worker's budget. I don't think so, but that is a person. And then I walked away. But ever since then, if they see me, they do say hi on the way past. But I just hope that through that situation that was quite difficult to me, even before I was involved in the situation, I hope that it was a learning opportunity for them. Very often when society sees someone with a disability, they seem to assume that we're not doing the same things as other people, or that we have an easier life than other people. I think I definitely feel this when I've been traveling to work in the past. Because I work at the hospital, I get the taxi to work, and at this time I was having different drivers each day, and nearly every day the drivers would say to me, and what is your appointment for today? And I would say, I'm not here for an appointment. And they would say, oh, and I said, no, I'm here to go to work. And then they would always, when I booked the taxi, they would have it written down, the part of the hospital that they need to drop me off. But every morning, a taxi driver would say, what appointment are you here for today? And would go to drop me off at the main entrance for the patients to go in. And I would have to say to them, well, I'm not here for an appointment. I'm here to work. Nearly almost every day they would say, you come to work? And I said, yes. And they said, why? You don't need to. And I said, because I want to come to work and I choose to come to work. And they would say to me, you would have a lot more money if I wasn't working, which is very true. I would have a lot more money if I wasn't working. I don't think I would have the same. I don't know how I would be able to get up in the morning every day without doing something. So I find that comment really difficult when people are always assuming that we are all day staying in the house because it's not just about going to work. Like we're doing things like our campaign work as SIA. So we go out and about to do that work when we've not got this COVID situation. And a lot of time and energy goes into just leaving the house for someone with an additional need. You can't just make a last minute plan to go out. You have to plan every single thing, even have to plan where you're going to go to the toilet. There's nothing you can't have somebody ring you that morning and said you want to go out today. So the assumption that we're often at home all day is a difficult one to deal with.
So through some of them stories you have shared, what we can hear as well is you are absolutely fighting to have your voices heard and the voices of other young disabled people. But who else through those stories have we heard that shouts for you? Mums?
She's my hero, she is.
Don't mess with Amanda's mum on a spa day. Don't mess with Amanda on her 18th birthday.
She sticks up for me when we are in public places.
In general, when I leave the house, I am really bad for standing up for myself, which has meant in the past I'm very vulnerable to being in dangerous situations, because I won't say to someone, don't do that to me. If somebody was to come and shout, or when people used to throw things at me on the way to school, I wouldn't be able to go, don't do that. So I think, like we were talking about, how when you have when there's someone with a disability, very often it's the people who are caring and looking out for that person also have quite a battle every day, because they are having to fight to make sure we are heard. We have this with other members of SIA as well, where as friends we have to do it for our other members. When we were in the pub, for example, and one of our members of SIA, he wanted to order a drink, and he relies on sign language rather than verbal speech. And I was supporting him to order his drink, and the bar worker looked to me and said, "Can he drink alcohol?" And he was 27 at the time. So to him, that really upset him. He still talks about it a lot. And it was about 3 years ago, and he still talks about it quite a lot. It really upset him. That again, that was another assumption made about him. And they asked me, can he drink alcohol? And he's trying to give them the money at the time. He's trying to pay for his drink. But it's almost like he's not there. And I think the same with like the taxi drivers. Is when I'm getting into the taxi in the morning for work, they're seeing the wheelchair, not me. That's how I try and word it for people that haven't been through it.
Thank you, Amanda and Joey, for sharing those stories. Stories about times you've had assumptions made about you in person. Unfortunately, we do also see so much of this on social media platforms, and usually it's accompanied by ableist and hateful speech about disabled people.
So, unfortunately, social media platforms can be a harmful environment to people with disabilities and additional needs. And that can be very difficult, because the assumptions that are made in person carry over and continue online. And we find that because people are not physically saying things to someone, it escalates a lot more. People have absolutely no fear of what they're saying, and will become much more hateful online. I think that there's a massive difficulty here, because on social media, we feel, and it's a feeling, that when there's hate speech towards people with disabilities, it's not always looked upon it with the same severity as other kinds of hate speech. And that's very difficult for us, because I feel like we're in a very small minority, and we are one of the protected characteristics. The abuse that we seem to receive is not treated with the same severity. Also, people with disabilities, and we have this in SIA, we have a lot of, I find this word hard to say, we have a lot of intersectionality. So we have people that with disabilities that will fall under multiple categories. And that just makes it so difficult that we just often feel ignored. We know that people with disabilities are very isolated. We've had this lockdown, which hopefully the public have had to feel a little bit of what normal life is like for people with additional needs. But because of that isolation, it does mean that the community very much heavily relies on social media a lot more than other groups of society. It's very difficult that it's become a very dangerous place, and that we often feel like we're not heard. We do experience very serious cases of hate speech, and a particularly recent comment that we were trying to get removed was written on a public page that was a page for educating society about disabled people. And within the comments section was the comment that read, put it down, in response to a person. Now, this is dehumanizing speech. And the very interesting thing is that when you report a comment on Facebook, when you hit report and you hit hate speech, you come to a page which says, before you continue with your report, please acknowledge whether this falls within a category of what Facebook identifies as a direct attack. And their first point is dehumanizing speech. So that comment has been reported many times by just SIA alone, and never once has it been taken down. And this is an issue. This is an issue because the person will have known that if they used a different word, that Facebook's algorithm might have picked it up. But the fact that it's been reported, I mean, myself, I've reported it 6 times, and SIA have reported it. And for it to not be taken down after so many times, it is just so wrong. And when you do report something, and it comes back as a non-breach, the response you get is, here's what you can do. And it will come up with a list of things that you can do. And it's always, you can block this person so that you don't see any more of their comments. You can hide this post so that you don't have to see it again. Or you can unfollow this page so you see less of this type of content appearing on your timeline. Now, the problem with that is it's too late once I've seen it. What would be the point in me hiding the comments? Because I've already seen it. It's too late now. I've already seen it. It's too late. My problem is not whether I've seen it. My problem is the hundreds and thousands of other people that would have seen that in the process of it being there, and it then being reported and it not being taken down. If I've seen it, or if just one person's seen it, that's one person too many. With these comments, we never know who's going to see that and what sort of place they're going to be in at that time. We don't know the major impact these comments have on people. And I think our other issue is, and we're focusing on Facebook because it's the platform that we've done the most research on. I think the problem is Facebook and major businesses and companies in general actually knowing what is hate speech, because what they think is hate speech is probably extremely limited.
Sia's current campaign is called Facebook Has No Standards. Facebook Has No Standards is about working with social media platforms to stop ableist and hateful speech being allowed to remain on their platforms. We continuously report posts on social media, and we get a response from Facebook to say the post can't be taken down because it doesn't breach their community standards. Sia say that Facebook have no standards, and how can they when they allow hateful speech to remain online? Facebook say we remove over 97% of hate speech before it's even reported to us. And between October and December 2020, we acted on 26.9 million pieces of content. Joey, how does that quote make you feel?
This quote is very frustrating to me, because every time we've asked for a response, when we have had involvement with media, so for example, the radio, they are sending out the same statement, which is also quite insulting, because every time we've asked for a comment, they will not offer one. It just feels like they're copying and pasting the same thing over and over again. And we're not here to be against them. This is the frustration. We are not against Facebook. We just want to work with them. What we are against is just people being in genuine, real danger, in my personal opinion. And I know for a few weeks, because we've received this same statement multiple times, I was looking at this number thinking 97% being taken down, and I was trying to understand, how is this possible? And then when we talked about it, I realized that the reason their number looks so impressive is because they actually don't seem to know what hate speech towards disabled people is and looks like. So again, they're making an assumption of what hate speech is, and without people with lived experience, or as some of the people that have worked with us in the past call it, experts by experience, they're never going to know what real hate speech is, nor are they going to know what it feels like, or the danger it causes to people, the real danger, because what's going on virtually and on a screen for them, they can go home from that, leave that behind. But it's actually affecting people in the real world, and we need to stop disassociating what's going on online and separating it from real life, because unfortunately this is real life, and what is being written and said online may as well just be shouted at someone in the street.
Well, Sia carried on meeting twice each week. You were putting in the hours, weren't you, and paid, and still are. And yeah, one of the bits of advice, I guess, was from Stephanie about finding a name. Like you said, Facebook is faceless, so then you found it.
So during our takeover day, we also, as well as using Facebook as our platform to reach people, we used our Twitter as well to try and reach a greater audience, and through that we were contacted by Taiwo, a local MP who has come across our story that day, and she said that she would like to support us, and she wanted to be able to help us reach the people that we wanted to reach, and get our story out to more people.
I am delighted to support Coventry Youth Activists' Facebook Has No Standards campaign to put an end to online abuse experienced by disabled people, and to change Facebook's policy so that it recognises hate speech and discrimination specifically targeting disabled people. There's been a very worrying increase in the amount of hate speech and discrimination posted on social media platforms, but far still little is being done to combat this. Online hate and abuse are something which disproportionately affects young people, and young people with disabilities in particular. It has been fantastic to help passionate young people here in Coventry to hold to account one of the most powerful companies in the world. Tech giants must do much more to protect the rights of their users, and I hope the Facebook will listen to this campaign and implement the recommendations put forward by SIA to improve disabled users' experiences and stamp out the shocking online abuse faced by disabled people.
Thank you, Taiwo, for sharing your thoughts and experiences again with us. We really appreciate it, and it's just nice to have Taiwo is also someone who campaigns for equality in other intersections of society.
And then you did the first tweet in Nick Clegg on the 1st of March. I only know that because each week I have to work out how many days it's been since he hasn't responded. So yeah, 1st of March this year, it really...
Yeah, we did.
Like kicked off, didn't it, Joey?
So we timed we planned the date carefully around already existing calendars.
So why are we going so public with this, Joey? Why are we doing our tweets to Nick Clegg so everyone can see?
Because at the end of the day, it is somebody's image and would be in his best interest to respond. Coventry Youth Activists aren't the sort of group that do petitions in the traditional sense. We don't like to do things in what society classes as a normal way. We're always going to find a completely different way of doing things, which is why it would be really good if people who are listening would go and check out all of our social media platforms, which can all be found with the handle @CovActivists, just to see how we sort of run and different ways of being seen.
You're right, we don't do things quietly, do we? So if anyone's had a chance to look at our Twitter, and if you haven't already, you can find us on there @CovActivists. So trying to get Nick Clegg's attention this week, he's been part of a giant game of Where's Wally, or Where's Nick, we should say. And you've also created a song, haven't you, that the special song, A Message to You, Rudy, became a song, Stop You Messing Around, a message to you, Nick Clegg.
Stop messing around. Time to join us for a cup of tea. Time to straighten things out. We just want to talk to you, Nick Clegg. A message to you, Nick Clegg.
We hope you liked our song, and Neville Staples from The Specials liked our song because he retweeted it on Twitter, didn't he, Joey? So that was exciting.
Yes. So we've decided to do that, and after reflecting on it, I brought up to the group that this is actually very poignant at this time with the Specials being from Coventry, and we are based in Coventry, and we also have City of Culture happening. Nick should understand that there's a lot of effort gone into that, and we hope that it is making him smile, because it will make our followers smile, and that's certainly something we all need to be doing right now.
The next bit we're going to talk about is about our petition, and we really need your help with this. Joey, do you want to tell people what we're doing with the petition and how they can help?
As a small group, it's really hard to keep everyone smiling about that. Everybody has worked for well over a year now, and we're fighting every day to get our petition seen by people. So it is really, really important to us now that we can share our petition and get help from so many other people to share it too. It's on the Parliament website, and it will be linked within the information of the podcast. And when this is being signed, this is not just impacting on us or even just the disabled community, but it's of a national interest. It's of a national interest. If the bill goes through, it affects many different things, especially hate crime and equality in general. We obviously focus a lot in terms of hate crime towards disabled people because it seems to be the least talked about but it is of a national interest that this is brought forward. So we just want people to understand that this is something that's really important, and that every day the hate speech that people with disabilities are experiencing online is having a real physical impact on people and their lives, and unfortunately at times I believe bringing risks into people's lives.
So for our petition, we're aiming for 100,000 signatures. If we get 10,000 signatures, the government will respond to us. So we'll receive some sort of written information from them. But if we hit 100,000 signatures, our petition will be taken into government and will be debated by MPs. So what we'd like to do now is share our experience and our advice to anyone listening that wants to build a campaign.
If we're going to give advice, we would say be individual. Don't feel the pressure of doing what you're expected to do in terms of campaigning, and try not to focus too much, I think, on what society's perception of action looks like. We carry out our action, which we have plans for that to be a very physical experience for people to be present and to again bring some fun. And we're so used to being separated from society that I think we've learned to embrace standing out at times.
Our next step is heading to London to Facebook offices to do an action outside to get their attention so they can't ignore Sia and we get our meeting.
When the group are thinking of ideas, we bring people together from all different areas of life. And we've done that virtually at the moment as well, which means that we've been able to reach people that are really quite far away from us. One of our biggest pieces of advice is something I always like to remind Sia of, is that you can always, as they say, aim for the moon and land in the stars. So always go high to be brought down again. But as somebody that worries a lot about offending people or doing something wrong, I'm overly cautious, and we've always been told by people that have worked with us and that it's easier to it's much easier to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. So I think maybe that's something that needs to be shared for sure.
And I think, Joey, an important point there is what you said as well about bringing people together. Do you think that's another useful bit of advice about, we've worked with people, we've built relationships, haven't we, with our allies? It's not just going to be us doing that Facebook action. We need other people to support our campaign, and other people will need that with theirs too.
We always like to emphasize that anyone, even who is listening right now, by them listening and just giving us time to hear our voices, they automatically become part of what we call our Sia family. And we're always just really, really thankful of that, and like to have a very personal approach on how we thank people in many different ways. We really recognize the importance of telling people how much we appreciate them, that when people join us, we will also always return the favor in joining the work that they do too, because we know from past experience how much of an effect that can have by sharing support, because we're all going to need someone at some point in life.
We're only asking for 40 minutes of Nick Clegg's time. We want to meet with him and tell him our recommendations of how he can make Facebook a safer place for disabled people. Fixing the way they respond to hate speech in what they class as hate speech, and changing their policies.
And if the way that we can get this message out is by taking on such a high profile organization, and gaining awareness that way, then that's how we will reach people. We just desperately need to increase awareness, knowing that there's a severe issue and that people are getting seriously impacted every day. And we just need this message to go out to the entire world.
So no changes have been made on Facebook. At the minute, ableist and hate speech posts are still allowed to remain online because they don't breach Facebook's community standards. What we want from Facebook is to work with them on their community standards to figure out how posts that refer to disabled people as animals, or posts that say that disabled people shouldn't be here, are allowed to remain on a platform and don't breach their standards.
So many people supporting our campaign behind the scenes. We always like to give a special thank you to Marley and Chloe and Kirsty and Sophie that was with us right at the beginning of this campaign, who have been the main sort of people that have been with us every single week and been attending all the meetings with us and going through all the headaches of battling with Facebook and helping to keep an eye on all of our social media for us. And thanks to Grapevine as an organisation for allowing young people to just be able to have an impact on the world when places don't always allow that to happen for people like us. And we're just massively grateful for all the people in the background and all of the people that support and share anything that we do, even if it's just once. We like to make sure that everyone knows that they are recognised, and we never underestimate how important that is. So we never forget any of the people that support us, however that looks. Yes, just a thank you to everyone really, and anyone listening today.
We want to thank everybody that's been a part of this podcast today. So I want to thank Joey, Amanda and Taiwo for their time, for sharing their stories and their experiences. If you want to get in touch with us, if you think you can help us with our Facebook campaign, if you can help us meet with Facebook, or you just want to chat to us about what we're doing, we're on social media. You can find us on all of our pages, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, using the handle @COVActivist. You can sign our petition by searching www.tinyurl.com/SIA-petition, or you can find the link to our petition on our Twitter page, along with a video with a step-by-step guide of how you can complete the petition.